Hey everybody, it's Anna. Welcome to the final card in this week's tarot story. We close with our third major arcana card this week, so our third big life lesson for this final week of 2021, and it is the High Priestess. Now, this is the 2 card in the major arcana, and we had a 2 card earlier, it was the 2 of Pentacles, and I talked about how I associate the 2 with the experience of incubation or with rooting down. So it's like you planted the seed and now the seed is putting down its roots. So the High Priestess I think of as being the pregnancy card, and it is a passive energy card in the major arcana, which is an important thing to remember, that the major arcana is set up like a spiritual journey, and every action step pretty much is followed by a resting step. And that's because you have to do both of those things to have a sustainable spiritual journey. You can't constantly move forward and expect that to be sustainable, because every action has to be followed by a time of integration. It's just like if the plant came up without the roots, it wouldn't last very long because the roots are necessary to stabilize the plant. So the High Priestess shows up to remind us that we are pregnant with things. Even if we're doing other things, like we're in the middle of creating, completing projects or manifesting creations, we're doing all these things. There are, at various times in our lives, probably all the time, there is something we are pregnant with. And that means that we are incubating something all the time. And incubation requires rest. It requires quiet. It requires reflection. It doesn't require action. It requires being still. So I think this is important, especially coming out of this week, which is all about struggle and finding pain points and finding balances, as well as the fact, as I said before, 2021 was a year that was a 5-year, which is about struggle and conflict. And conflict and struggle requires you to push. It requires engagement, and kind of an intense engagement sometimes. So that's good and necessary. When you're at a challenge point, you have to push, right? But this card reminds us that pushing is not the only essential work. that actually, as important as action is the rest. And so there are times in our lives where we suddenly feel tired, and we suddenly feel like we need to take a break, or we need to go to the mountains, we need to go to the beach, we need to take time off. And it's so easy for us to say, oh, that's non-essential, that's just something I want to do, I'm just being lazy. Instead of saying, I'm getting an intuitive hit that I need actual space to rest in. And that's because something critical is happening right now. And the best way for me to let that happen is to make plenty of space for this to happen in, and that would be the pregnancy. So it really does come down to whether you're at a place in your life where you are able to be patient and trusting of your own timing. And that doesn't happen early on. Like, when you start off your spiritual journey, you're more impatient and pushing, and you'll just push right through, right? And that's fine, but you create things that don't have a lot of staying power because you forgot to root in, you forgot to integrate things. And so it's kind of a rocky creation, right? But as you do this longer and you decide you want to invest in things that are longer lasting, you begin to recognize the importance of the incubation and the integration, and making sure there's plenty of space for that. And trusting your own timing, that when you don't feel like you want to push, you don't. You rest, you trust it, that there will come a time where the action will happen. And it won't even feel like a push, probably it'll feel like inspiration. It'll feel easy. It'll feel the engagement will feel good to you. Pushing almost always is a resistance to the call to rest. So be mindful of how you move inside of your own energy. It's like actually having a baby. If you're the problem comes when you are resistant to the contractions. You're fearful, which, by the way, it's hard not to be fearful. But the idea of like being able to trust there's a flow to this and agreeing to the flow instead of pushing against it. And that's true with our spiritual journeys. The more we learn how to trust and rest when we need to rest, the more we discover it's more fun, it's more easy, and what we create is longer lasting. So I mentioned yesterday that we're moving out of 2021, which is a 5-year, into 2022, which is a 6-year, and the 6 is connected to harmonizing and integrity. So hopefully this is my projection for us all, for my clients. I've been saying that we're moving out of struggle into creating a really integrated, harmonized, resonant experience for ourselves. And that means you're going to have to rest. So maybe that can be our closing resolution for 2021. Make time to rest. Value your rest, trust the rest, and trust your timing. See you next year. Bye.